In Norway, buying an apartment can mean inheriting someone else's debt. In Poland, a landlord can legally ask for 12 months of rent as a deposit. Real estate doesn't work the same way everywhere, and the differences, they are expensive to discover by mistake. If you ever considered buying property abroad in a country you are not from or don't live in, this is the right place. Indeed is the show that compares real estate markets from around the world, always with Poland as the reference point. Every episode, a new country, rules broken down clearly side by side. I'm Magda from Welcome Home, where we support foreign investors buying property in Poland. This episode, Norway versus Poland. 5 things: ownership types, foreign buyer rules, residency rights, long and short-term rentals, and how to close a deal without being there in person. One of these answers may be more surprising than most buyers expect. Let's start with the foundation, because in Norway this one concept changes every rule that follows. When you buy a residential apartment in Norway, there are 2 completely different things you might be purchasing. First type, full direct ownership. You own the apartment itself, plus a share in the building's common areas. Second type, a share in the housing cooperative. This gives you the right to use a specific apartment. You can sell it, but the property and the land stay owned by the cooperative. In listings, the purchase price is usually lower than for full ownership, but be careful, you are buying into a shared debt, which you will need to pay back in monthly installments. This sounds like a small legal difference, but in practice, especially when it comes to renting, it is a completely different situation. That's Norway. Poland has a similar split. The first option is buying a flat as a separate independent property. Full ownership, your name on the unit, a share in the common areas and in the land. The second is a cooperative ownership right. The housing cooperative remains the legal owner, but the holder has full practical control. They can sell it, give it, and pass it on. One key difference versus Norway. There is no cooperative debt attached. So the structure mirrors Norway, but what you can do with each type of property, especially around renting, is where the 2 countries begin to differ. Who can legally buy property in Norway and Poland? And are there any restrictions you need to know about before you even start looking? In both countries, yes, but the details matter. There is no general ban on foreign buyers in Norway. Restrictions relate to the type of property, not your nationality. Before any investment, check whether the specific property requires government approval. This is called a concession, simply a permit that authorizes the purchase of certain property types. City apartments rarely do, but if no concession is needed, you must still submit a self-declaration of exemption. Miss this, and registration can be refused, and in extreme cases, a forced sale may follow. In Poland, foreigners can't freely buy real estate in principle, but the exceptions cover most situations international investors actually face. Buying a residential flat is generally permitted without any government permission, regardless of where you are from. The exception, properties within roughly 15 kilometers of Poland's state's border. Citizens of the European Economic Area and Switzerland are generally free from requirements. Does buying property give you residency rights? This one comes up constantly. In neither country does buying property give you automatic residency or citizenship. In Norway, no immigration rights at all. No golden visa, no investment visa tied to real estate. To live and work there, you need a separate legal basis. In Poland, same answer, but with one important worth knowing thing. Property ownership can sometimes support a temporary residency application, not as the reason but as supporting evidence. It doesn't create the right. Ownership and the right to reside are two completely separate things. Now, what happens after you buy? Long-term rental rules are where the two countries start to look really different from each other. This is also where the ownership type you chose earlier starts to matter a great deal. In Norway, what you can do depends on ownership type. With full ownership, a private investor can't own more than 2 residential sections in the same building. There are 2 types of rental agreements. First, fixed term. It runs for an agreed period and ends automatically, but the landlord generally can't end it early. Minimum length 3 years. If the landlord lives in the same building, the minimum drops to 1 year. Second, open-ended. It runs until ended by one party. The landlord can only terminate for specific reasons. Wanting it back isn't enough. Notice 3 months in writing with a stated reason. No reason, no notice. The deposit can be up to 6 months' rent. It is held in a separate account in the tenant's name and can be used only by joint agreement or court decision. And here is the part most foreign landlords don't see coming, that deposit never lands in your pocket. It goes into a blocked account in the tenant's name, and neither of you can touch it. Not the landlord, not the tenant, not without joint agreement or a court order. In practice, your deposit doesn't protect your cash flow the way you might expect. It protects the process. That's a very different thing. In a cooperative, the same termination rules apply. Plus, the owner is expected to actually live in the apartment. Renting out part is fine if the owner lives there too. Renting out the entire apartment is allowed for a maximum of 3 years and only if the owner or a close family member lived there for at least one of the last 2 years. That's how it works in Norway. Now Poland, and the contrast here is significant. Poland has more flexible rules, no restrictions on how many properties a private person can own, no cap, no location limits, no minimum rental periods. 1 apartment or 50, rent them all anywhere at the same time, but how you rent matters. Polish law has 3 agreement types. First, standard, written, fixed term or open-ended. The landlord can only end it for legally defined reasons. Deposit, and this one often shocks most foreign investors, up to 12 months rent paid directly to the landlord. Yes, 12, not a typo. That's twice Norway's 6 months cap. And unlike Norway, this money goes straight to you. Drop in a comment if that number surprised you. Second type is occasional agreement for private landlords not running a rental business, fixed term, up to 10 years. The tenant signs a notarial deed committing to live on a set date and provides an alternative address. If they don't live, landlord can go straight to court. Deposit capped at 6 months. It must be registered with the tax office within 14 days or it loses occasional status. Third type of agreement, institutional agreement. Same mechanism but for registered rental businesses. No alternative address required from the tenant. Now the question every investor asks at the same point. Can I put this on Airbnb? The answer depends mostly on which country and which ownership type. In Norway, rules depend on property type. Direct ownership up to 90 days per year of short-term rental. Short-term means any booking up to 30 days in a row. The association can vote to change it, but only within 60 to 120 days. In a cooperative share, only 30 days per year for the entire apartment and only if it's the owner's main home. 30 days. That's your entire Airbnb season in Norway if you bought into a cooperative. That's the Norwegian side. In Poland, Again, we are more flexible. As of this video's publication, there are no day limits on short-term rental. You can rent on Airbnb without annual caps, but this is about to change. New rules tied to an European Union regulation are expected in the second half of May this year. I will cover this in a separate video. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss it. If you're still watching, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is for. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. One more section to go and it might be the most practical one yet. For anyone investing in a country that isn't home, this is the most practical section. Can you close a deal in Norway or Poland without being there in person? Yes, in both countries. But how you set it up makes all the difference. This is where I've seen the most costly mistakes. In Norway, the mapping authority sets strict requirements. The power of attorney must identify the property by its official registration numbers, state exactly what the representative can do, include ID numbers of both sides. A general power of attorney is not enough. Signing a deed requires 2 witnesses. For jointly owned property, both spouses must sign. When signing outside Norway, the document generally needs a notary. Outside the Nordic countries, an apostille is required. No translation is needed if the content is clear. Small detail, real money, and time saved. Sign that power of attorney in Denmark, Sweden, Finland or Iceland, and you don't need the apostille. The Nordic countries recognize each other's notarized documents directly. In Poland, a power of attorney for property purchase must include full details of both parties. But unlike Norway, no specific property or price is required. The scope can be broad, it must be signed before a notary, and it must be in Polish. If signed abroad, the safest option is bilingual. And this is the one rule shared by both countries and most often overlooked. And that, indeed, is Norway and Poland side by side. 2 different systems, different rules around ownership, rental and documentation, and yet more common ground than most people expect. If Poland is on your list, Welcome Home is the place to start. Before you go, one question: Norway or Poland? Which rules surprised you more? Drop one word in the comments, I read every single one. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you soon. I'm Magda, and this has been Indeed.